Hello and welcome back to the Road to Good Cooking. And finally, for the 47% of you that said you wanted to see more sausage videos, I'm finally getting started on our sausage projects. Now, I ordered a few supplies that I'm still waiting for, and due to the extreme weather conditions from where they're coming from, my order has been held up, and I've been getting daily updates. Hopefully, I'll get everything in by this week. Fingers crossed. So, let me show you what I've done so far. I was really happy to find this pork shoulder butt roast, and it weighs 8.48 pounds, and I'm going to mix that with beef brisket. And my beef brisket here, this is 8.5 pounds, so that should make a really good tasting sausage. And here's the pan I'm going to put my brisket in. This pan has been in the freezer overnight, so it is nice and chilled. And I'm going to slice up the brisket and put it in here and cover it up, and then put it in the fridge and start on the pork. And due to the limited space that I have in my tiny kitchen, I'm going to put my pan that's going to be full of the brisket in the sink here. Hey, do what you got to do, right? I rinsed off my brisket with cold water, and I'm going to pat it dry on both sides. I'm going to cut out the flat piece, and I'm going to save that for later on in the month for making some brisket sandwiches. And my brisket, I'm going to cut it in small pieces rather than long strips like I normally do. But I have a lot of meat to grind up, and I don't want to overwork my grinder if I don't have to. So cutting it in smaller cube-sized pieces, and it'll be a lot easier to handle. And all this soft fat, I'm cutting that off along with all this slimy membrane stuff here, because I don't want that in my sausage. And having my meat cut up in smaller pieces will help it freeze a lot faster too. All right, so how have you guys been doing? And I have been watching some of your videos, and boy, you guys are getting hammered down there. And I just pray that you have enough water and food stored, and everything that you needed to get you through this rough spot that we're having with the weather. And some of you guys have lost your water. You've been out of water for a week or so, and oh my God, I just can't even imagine. I can't even imagine. Well, you know what? In watching some of this stuff that I've been watching, it's made me realize that I need to, there are things that I need to be a little bit more proactive about preparing for. And that's why I started making my candles. I started storing water for, especially for Sophie, because I have enough water stored for myself, but I didn't take under account water for Sophie. So I started saving, storing water for Sophie. And we have to prepare for our furry buddies too. And I got it all packed up, and this is wrapped up, ready to go in the freezer. And I'm going to put it in a vacuum seal bag so it'll store nicely in the deep freezer. And here's all of my scraps or my trash. I'm going to save this, and being as I'm making a lot more sausage these days, I'm going to save it until I get enough to render down, and then I'm going to make me some lard. And here's the brisket. It's all wrapped, ready to go in the refrigerator, and it's important to keep your meat ice cold. So remember that, guys. I can't get it in the freezer because my freezer is full, so I'm just going to put it in the very bottom in the back of my freezer, or excuse me, in the back of my refrigerator, and that'll keep it nice and chilled until I'm ready to grind it up. Take off my gloves. And there is the brisket. I'm getting ready to vacuum seal that. I have a clearly marked beef brisket, so I know what it is. And in the freezer it goes. I'm going to take a few minutes and wipe everything down so I can get ready to start cutting up my pork. And I don't know about you guys, but I like to clean up as I go, especially when I'm doing a project this big. I don't want to wait till the end and have to clean up all this stuff, so I'm doing it as I go. On to the pork butt. Now this pork butt has a great big huge bone right in the center there, and I'm going to cut the meat from around that bone, and then I'm going to save it, put it in a Ziploc bag, store it in the freezer, and I'm going to keep it for the next time I make pork broth or soup or anything. All right, now here's the pan that I'm going to be putting my chopped pork butt in. And I'm going to put on a clean pair of gloves so I won't get arrested by the pork butt glove police. But no, I always change my gloves out. And getting back to what we were talking about earlier as far as preserving and being prepared, Like I was saying, watching some of these videos have really made me more aware of just the little things that you don't think about. And these people are actually, they're actually going through it. And I'm paying attention. I'm listening to everybody because you know what? This bad weather could happen anywhere, anytime. I live in the desert, and believe it or not, we had snow here several times. And the worst I've ever seen it was in 2008, I believe. And I was at my shop, and I ended up closing up my shop that day early, and I was driving home watching people drive down the street, and some of them were sliding, going backwards and sideways, and I thought, oh Lord, only thing I can do is just pray that God got me home okay, because these people, nobody knows how to drive in the snow. I don't know how to drive in the snow, and as well as most of these people that live here. But like I was saying, watching some of these videos have made me more aware of just the little things that I need to think about, like my candles. Okay, so I have candles, but if I don't have a lighter to light them with, what good is it? So just little things like that. Okay, I'm going to finish cutting up my pork butt, and then I'm going to wrap it up and put it in the refrigerator. I took a little break, put my feet up, had some lunch, took Sophie for a walk, and it's later in the day. So now I'm getting ready to start grinding up my beef brisket. Okay, and here's how I put my meat grinder together. Here's the auger, and I put oil around the back side of the auger so the washer will fit on there, and it moves nice and easily. And I also put oil on the back of the grinder knife, and that goes in there just like so. And here's the grinder plate. There's a notch at the bottom right there. I'm sorry for the lighting. I hope you can see it. It's right there. And there's a little notch right here. So you line that up and put the grinder plate in just like so. And then put the sleeve on. Now the sleeve I'm going to put on, I'm not going to put it on there Incredible Hulk tight, just finger tight. And you'll see here in a minute, I had a little bit of trouble getting it on there because there's all this stuff has been in the freezer. So there was a little ice in the thread there. So I had a hard time getting it on there, but there it goes. And it is ice cold. Whew. I need to get me some insulated gloves. And then there's a screw right here, and you just tighten that up so that little piece of equipment right there will be secure in place. Took me a minute, but I got it in there. Okay, there we go. And that's the tray where the meat's going, and it too is ice cold. And we're done. Let's grind up some meat. After I had my lunch and I took a 2-hour nap. No, I didn't nap. I just kind of took it easy for a couple of hours. And then I realized that I wanted to put my meat in the freezer, and I had to figure out how I was going to get it in the freezer, being as both of my freezers are full. So I took the meat out of the containers that I originally put them in, and I put them in smaller bags. That way I was able to, kind of go to the freezer and find all those little nooks and crannies and put the bags in there, and I was able to get it all in the freezer. So I left the bags in the freezer for about an hour and a half, 2 hours, and having the meat slightly frozen will make it go through the grinder a lot easier. And you'll see later on down when we get started how it comes out in nice strands, and that's what you want. You want your meat to come out in nice strands. There is a reason why you keep your meat ice cold, and if you live in a hot area like I do, when it's triple digits and I have to turn my air conditioner way down because the house is, does heat up. And so I just turn the AC down as low as I can get it, and I make sure that I keep my meat in the refrigerator as I'm working on it. So I'm going back and forth, working in smaller batches if I have to, in order to keep everything nice and chilled. And it's very, very important to keep your meat nice and chilled at all times. So here we go. And you see, this is the strings that I'm telling you about. See how it comes out in nice strands? It's not all mushy and coming out all smeared, because that's what will happen if you are doing this and the weather and it's too hot in your house. Your meat is going to get all sticky and smeary, and it's going to look weird, and it's going to taste even weirder. So don't say you haven't been warned. All right, so now you have all seen me do this before. I'm going to put on some nice soft music for you and let you sit back and kick back and relax during this part of it. I'm not going to go through I'm not going to make you sit through the whole thing watching it grind, but you'll get the idea. And I'm going to put some iCards above from some of my earlier videos way back when. And check those out. For this batch, I'm going to be using cellulose casings, and the next couple of batches I'll use hog casings, and then I'll use sheep casings, like if I'm going to make breakfast sausage. So sit back and watch me work for a minute. Here I'm taking a minute to wipe everything down and wash out my equipment. I'm going to put everything back in the freezer for about 30 minutes, and then I'll continue on grinding the pork. And here's my equipment after being in the freezer for 30 minutes. You can see the little pieces of ice in there, and it is ice cold. 30 minutes is all it took. And that gave me another time to, I had to take Sophie out, so it worked out just fine. And here, look at this. See, it's solid, frozen solid, ice cold. So let me put everything together, get my pork ground up, and then I will chat with you later. Okay, I am just about finished grinding up my pork. I didn't have that much because this is the part that I'm going to make my breakfast sausage with, and I just wanted that all pork. So from here, I'm going to be washing up everything one last and final time. This time I added the little bleach to my water because I want to make sure that all of my equipment is completely clean and sterilized. And I don't put up my equipment. I leave it out overnight so it can air dry. And that way I know that it's dry before I put it up. And it's very important, guys, to make sure your equipment is clean before you put it up, because you don't want to do another project and then you have meat from a project that you did maybe months ago, and that's just a recipe for a disaster, and you're going to make yourself sick, you're going to make everybody else sick. So take an extra step and make sure that all your equipment is nice and squeaky clean. And here is my favorite kitchen gadget, my scale, which I absolutely love. I use this thing on everything, and I'm sure you've seen them in several videos. And here I'm wrapping some plastic wrap on it because I am working with raw meat, and it's just a nicer thing to do. So I'm wrapping it with plastic wrap. And I'm measuring my sausage out in 1 pound packs. And I have everything all wrapped and bagged. Now, I didn't put these in vacuum seal bags because I'm going to be using them hopefully within the next couple of days when I get the rest of my equipment. But in the event that I don't, I'm going to put all this sausage in the freezer because this is way too much meat to have in the refrigerator any longer. And I would feel much more comfortable knowing that it's frozen and it's safe, and that way if it takes me longer to get that stuff that I'm waiting for, I won't have to worry about it. And there is my soft fat and the trash that I'm going to keep, and I'm going to render this down when I get enough of it and make me some lard. And that's about 1.5 pounds there. Okay, when it's all said and done, I ended up with not quite 12 pounds of meat. I have some in the refrigerator that's not out here, so 12 pounds. I'm good with that. And that's a little over 1 pound. That's what I'm going to make my pasta with tonight. But everything else is going in the freezer. And we are done with this part of the sausage project. And I had to weigh that fat to see how much it is. 1 pound, 11.6 ounces. That's what we have here. Okay, I'm done. I'm gonna put all this stuff in the freezer, and I'm gonna make me a pasta dinner tonight. All right, thanks for stopping by. If you're new to my channel, please hit that subscribe button and that notification bell. That way, you'll be notified each and every time I upload a video. And don't forget to hit the thumbs up button if you enjoyed this video, and stay tuned for the rest of this series. And I wish I could have put it all in one video, but being as I'm waiting for things, I just couldn't get it all done. So at least we got the prep work done. So when I get the other stuff, it's just a matter of getting everything stuffed up and prepared, and we're good to go. Be blessed, keep on cooking, keep on making great sausage, and have a wonderful week ahead. Be safe out there. Talk to you soon.